I think this is going to be one of the most interesting and insightful interviews we've ever done. How many times a day would you say you get pitched?
30 to 50 a day, probably, just roughly speaking.
I think a lot of people like try and automate this in our world with software.
Sent 20 personalized, nicely crafted email with a good pitch versus 20,000 automated emails. You're probably going to get more replies on the 20.
How do you sift and sort through like looking for the best people?
I think on the company side, sometimes you have to be careful about taking on too many customers at once.
All right, motherfuckers. Mo said we're going to be saying motherfuckers. For those of you guys today, I think this is going to be one of the most interesting and insightful interviews we've ever done. This is probably my all-time favorite attorney. You're looking at him. This is Moe DeWitt. And Mo has a bustling and hustling practice down in Orlando, Florida. They do personal injury. They do a little bit of divorce. And he's just a cool guy. Like he's not your average attorney. Whatever you guys imagine an attorney to be, that is not Mo. He's probably got a whole e-commerce brand by now from all the spin-off products he created. And I brought on Mo today because I wanted to talk to you guys about what it's like from the other side. Like Mo gets pitched a lot of agency services and hears from a lot of people. And we're going to be talking about like what it looks like from his perspective. So anyways, Mo, thanks for coming on here and doing this. I'm happy to
way to butter me up there, Frankie. But yeah, I'm happy to come on here and do this for you.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that. And I guess, the first question I kind of wanted to ask you is like, really, I wonder if most people could really appreciate, like, how many times a day would you say you get pitched in your inbox from a stranger about something, and not just related to digital marketing, but kind of as we were talking about, like you also get pitched from real estate agents and, investment people and mortgage brokers and et cetera, like those kind of things. But like on an average day, like how many pitches would you say your law firm receives?
If I had to guess, I mean, the ones that I see, because a lot of them I may not even see or they get, immediately deleted. But I'd say 30 to 50 a day, probably, just roughly speaking. All different types, all different levels of legitimacy, but there's a lot that come through, certainly.
Yeah. So, I say that because I think a lot of people underestimate, like I've had people in my world that are on the other side. They're the guys sending you the message and they go, I sent Mo one message. And as you pointed out, chances are you may not even have seen it. There's already a ton of noise in your inbox. You're a busy guy, and multiply that by 365 days a year. You're getting, if it's 30 on the low side, like you're literally getting thousands of pitches like every year, all day, every day. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about like some of the things that are like instant disqualifiers for you. Like when you get a pitch and somebody sends you something, what is something that makes you go like, oh, hell no. Like, I'd never hire that guy.
Well, I mean, if it's clearly generic, I'm not going to pay any attention to it. Or you get something wrong about the firm. Like I'll get pitches for estate planning. Well, we don't even do estate planning. So, I mean, you're dead to me right there. So if you can't even get my practice area right, you're dead to me. If it's something that's just so clearly generic, if you don't have any sort of company name, identifier, if it's sort of this anonymous, weird email, I'm probably not going to even look at it. It's going to be deleted immediately. And then if it's just, too generic, if it looks like everybody else's, if it sounds like everybody else's, I know sometimes people go over the top, try to get your attention. They'll mail you something or try to be unique. But at the end of the day, it's all about, are you offering me any value? What are you actually offering me here that benefits me? Because just like when I pitch my services to a client, they don't give a shit about who I am. They don't care anything about me. The only thing they care about is, can I help them? And it's the same thing on this side. Can you guys help me with something? So that's really what I'm looking for in any pitch or any email. Because I'm probably going to skim it for 5 seconds, if that. So if there's not something that jumps out at me as, all right, there's some value here, there's something unique here, there's an interesting proposition here, you got to feed it to me quickly. And if you're going to send me like a 4-page email with a bunch of nonsense, then I'm not even going to, I'm going to glance at it real quickly and move on.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And I think a lot of people like try and automate this in our world with software, and they send these copy and paste messages badly at scale, and they're trying to find some magic script. And at the end of the day, like you said, like you can tell it's just some generic copy and paste thing they send to everybody. And I feel like this personally, where if somebody actually like takes the time to personally write me something that's specific to me, even if I'm not interested, I'll actually reply like, "Hey, appreciate you doing that. Not
Yeah,
interested." But if it's
absolutely.
copy and paste generic, and I know they're just sending it to
Just gonna
everybody, like
delete
I
it.
don't even feel the need to like say anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but I would venture to guess if you sent 20 personalized, nicely crafted email with a good pitch versus 20,000 automated emails, you're probably going to get more replies on the 20
Yeah,
nicely personalized email that you send.
yeah. So let's talk
Because,
about that. Like, you
yeah,
mentioned personalization and adding value, but like, what are some of the things that actually like work on you? Because I know you probably, bought some crazy shit by somebody who showed up in your inbox or showed up with an ad and you tried something out, you rolled the dice. Like, what are some of the things that like actually make it kind of catch your attention and go, hey, this is different. This is not the same thing I've heard 1,000 times before.
well, I mean, a lot of times it's, all it's just what I'm interested in or focused on at that moment. Maybe we're focused on a certain type of advertising or certain form of advertising or certain form of marketing. And so if somebody's just lucky enough to hit me at that time, maybe I'd be interested in it. But usually when someone sends me something that's intelligent and says what they're pitching, why it works, and why I need it, that's going to be the most unique one. I mean, like years ago, I had like a TV lady selling broadcast television or cable television. Sorry, I didn't know her from Adam, but she sent me a nicely crafted email, and I was like, "Oh, I'll take a meeting with this person because they had researched our brand, they knew who we are, what we did, and they had a strategy in there of how they could help us." So I go, "I'd like to hear more about that." So typically, that's kind of what I'm looking for. But if yes, I think sometimes on the marketing front, they don't want to give too much away.
Yeah.
Lately it's all been everybody's pitching, oh, I can get you clients with AI. I can do this with AI. I can do that with AI. And if you ask them how it works, oh, it's proprietary. Well, all right, you can keep your proprietary information. I don't need to know that. Generally, tell me what you're doing. It's not black magic over here. I mean, tell
Yeah.
me what you're doing and how you're doing it. If you can't do that, I just assume you're a snake oil salesman. I'm going to go to the next person, or I'm just going to, not have any further conversation with you.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing from you, and this is stuff I've been kind of preaching to people, is a lot of times to me, step one, if you're gonna, message a stranger about something is actually just learn something about them before you even talk, right? Like it sounds like you said a
Yeah,
lot of the pitches that work on you, they've actually taken a couple of minutes to learn something about your firm and then actually have a reason why they think it would be a fit. And then as you mentioned, like I would almost call this like a bullshit detector, but you're looking for some like clear plan or process that like makes sense and can be executed on to show me like how is this actually going to work. And if it's always this vague, mysterious, I've said the vague and mysterious sells 2.99 ebooks really
right.
well. Like if I'm trying to sell you a 2.99 ebook and I say I've got a
Yeah,
vague, mysterious method, you'll give me $3 to find out what the mysterious method is.
right.
But if you're going to invest 10 grand or something, like that with somebody, like, you're looking for some kind of like clear process. Let's talk about when you actually take meetings with somebody. Like, I'd love to hear again, like, what are some of the things that make you go, actually, that was a bad idea to take a meeting with somebody? And then the flip side of that is, when does it just like totally make sense to work together with somebody?
I mean, if I'm going to take a meeting with somebody, obviously I want it to be fairly quick, fairly to the point. I mean, we can be friendly and nice, obviously, but I don't need a 2-hour presentation. I mean, I remember one time I had a sales pitch for this guy, and it was literally to the point where, I mean, he knew I wasn't paying attention to him. Like, he was
Right.
going on and on. And it's kind of like, all right, let's jump to what do you do? How much is it going to cost me? How's it work? Let's get
Yeah.
to the meat and potatoes of it. Um, and then, if you, for instance, I had a meeting with a company and it seemed like a decent product. Again, they were a little vague on how it worked. And so I said, do you have any references? Could you give me somebody else um, that I could talk to that just could tell me whether this was a good product or not? And they came up with some song and dance. Well, the only reason people ask for references is so to have an excuse not to do business with us or something like that. I mean, all right, you could say we're a new company, we're just getting started. Hey, we're going to give you a discount because you're a tester or whatever it is. Be honest with people. Don't feed them. People know what bullshit is,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if someone's bullshitting me, I'm a big trust guy. I'm a big kind of vibe guy. If I think you're slimy, if I think you're scummy, I'm not going to do business with you. I don't care if it's
Yeah.
a dollar or $50 million. I'm just not going to do it with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I would love to hear a little bit about like you mentioned there. It's funny because like people know me in the agency space as the guy who sells stuff through video, but what we put in those videos is like everything you just described. Like just get to the fucking point, tell me how much is it, how
Yeah,
we work together, how the
exactly.
process works, what you're gonna get, what you can expect and not expect, how we came to the conclusion that we think you'd be a good fit, and like what that sort of partnership would look like, and just get to the detail on those points. But I would love to hear the flip side of like obviously you have done some business with people, and obviously like you must have like a secret e-commerce partner with all the amount of products you're putting
I mean,
out.
we have a lot of commerce partners. So I mean, for those who don't know, we have a whole website where we mostly give away merch, but there's a Shopify site that we built
Yeah.
out that has everything from shower curtains to magnets to hoodies, shirts. I mean, any mat or
He's got hot sauce,
blankets,
just so you guys know. I
hot
mean,
sauce, pizza cutters. I mean, anything we could throw my face on, we threw it
yeah,
on basically.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, we obviously work with a lot of people, and once you kind of get over that initial hump of, hey, let's try it out, it's really a matter of, you know, communication. Does it work? And I mean, and I tell this to my, people in my office too. You can do the best job in the world for somebody, but if they don't know that you're doing that job, if they don't know what you're doing, a
yeah,
lot of times they're going to assume you're not doing
yeah,
anything. So, a lot of times it just comes down to communication with the vendor. Hey, if can I get a hold of you? Are you sending me reports? Do I have to chase you around for the reports? Do I have to chase you around to know if it's working or how it's working or what's going on?
yeah,
And obviously it depends what side of the business that's on. Sometimes it's more clear whether it's working or not. But still, you need, it's not a set and forget it typically. I mean, you have to
yeah.
have some point person that you can contact, get in touch with if something's going wrong, or you have some sort of question, or just to get some reassurance sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And it's funny you mentioned that, but I think there's more in common with our business models than different. Like anytime you're selling like a high ticket service where it's expertise kind of driven a lot of times, like as you put it, people have no idea what the fuck you're doing unless you tell them this is what we're doing, this is why we're
Yeah.
doing it. And it sounds so basic, but I experienced this for years selling SEO where I kind of dreaded every SEO meeting. But the truth is, like most people don't know what SEO is. And if you don't really tell them what's happening, it's like they're gonna usually assume the worst, not the best. They're not gonna assume like you're busy, working at,
Yeah. No, I mean, I've had, cases before where, another attorney in the firm handles the case, and client calls me complaining that, hey, you're not doing anything on my case. And I look at the file, I go, oh, we filed a stack of paperwork, 3 inches, thick or whatever. They've done all these motions, all this. The client goes, well, I didn't know any of that. And it's because the attorney didn't communicate that to the
yeah,
client. They didn't know that all this work was being done. And then, so that
yeah,
was a long time ago. We've corrected that in our office now to where they're always communicating and providing that information to them. But yeah, I mean, that's crucial. Just basic communication, just even, just checking in. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Do you need anything from me? I'm here if you do. Just something as simple as that, I think, goes a long way.
one last question I have for you, other than like like looking for a handsome Canadian founder in a company, like how do you sift and sort through like looking for the best people to actually help you? Because it's not just purely like who cold messages you, but it's also like, like you're going to events, you're looking for people, you're
Mhm.
asking around. I'd love to hear a little bit about your process for how you kind of do your due diligence on a vendor, because I think that's a thing that not enough people understand is like you're asking around about companies and you're asking around of who's worked with this person and what's your been experience like, and that's a conversation that's happening independent of whatever sort of materials and stuff they're sending you. I'd love to hear just kind of what that looks like for you and how you kind of like I know you mentioned you're a big vibe guy and I get that, but you're probably
Yeah. But I mean, if you go to these conferences, if you're kind of in some of these groups, it's a fairly small community. Most of them have listservs. You know a lot of these people at these events, and so when somebody's, and you'll kind of see it. You'll see some of these companies. They'll kind of take off like a rocket. A couple people use them and have good success, and then the company doesn't follow through. A bunch of people get mad at them, and then they kind of fizzle out. But it's a small circuit. People know, when you go to these companies, if one person's using them and they're working, it gets around pretty quickly. And so that's, I think, on the company side, sometimes you have to be careful about taking on too many customers at once. especially when you're getting popular in kind of these referral groups, this referral network, because if it flips on you, you know, just as fast as you built it, it can disappear overnight if you're not
Yeah.
providing what you say you're going to provide to them.
Yeah.
So, you know, people talk. I mean, you know, one of the first things I do if I have somebody who approaches me is I send it out to our listserv and say, "Hey, has anyone worked with this company? You have feedback." And people are doing that all the time. Um, and so if nobody's ever worked with them, yeah, that could be a red flag, or that could be, hey, they're just new. And usually I'll say, all right, we'll test them out on a short-term basis, see if we can see
Yeah.
how they do. And if they do well, then you know, maybe we'll recommend them to some of my close friends, they'll test them out, and then it kind of grows from there. But everybody talks, everybody asks for feedback on companies. And that I think that is one of the major advantages of being in some of these attorney groups is you kind of know the vendors to go to and the vendors not to go to. And as a vendor, you have to be very aware of that, that hey, if you're gonna be in this circle, you have to, you know, fulfill what you say you're gonna do.
Yeah. And then also, like, I like what you said for, the folks who are new and starting out, like, don't bullshit that. Just fucking own
Yeah.
it that you're new. And like you said, don't propose like, hey, let's work together for 3 years if you're new. Let's look,
Right.
figure out something that's short term where we can feel each other out and see if, it's a, mutually beneficial kind of thing rather than, like, asking for the moon on day one kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think you can almost use that to your advantage. Say, hey, I'm new. I have something I think really works. I'm willing to let you know test it out with you at a lower price point than I normally would. You get on the ground floor, and then if it works, you know, hopefully you'd recommend me to your friends and other attorneys, and I can build my company that way. I mean, if you're just honest and upfront about that, I think that goes a long way. And then, of course, if you deliver, you'll get a lot more business off of that.
Yeah. 1,000%. Mo, I don't want to keep you because I know you're busy, like building out your e-commerce merchandise, hot sauce slash Hulk Hogan
Of
meme
course.
entertainment empire. But we really appreciate you coming here and doing this and sharing, kind of what it looks like from the other side. Because I don't think enough people really understand what it's like. And I hear all the time people going, I sent 7,000 copy and paste messages to attorneys. Nobody responded. And it's like, well,
yeah,
for you, that was
it's
a
not about
5 second
quantity. It's about the
move
quality.
on.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Anyways, all right, guys, we appreciate you guys. Hey guys, if you like this video, you may also like my best-selling book here, Beyond the Agency Box. It is all about scaling a digital marketing agency while eliminating meetings and phone calls. We actually sell our stuff phoneless. We don't have any client meetings, and we also hire our team entirely without meeting phone calls, which allows us to, like actually kind of live a life. I've laid out the entire blueprint and everything you need to know, getting clients, onboarding, setting expectations, scaling, building a team, you name it. It has been a bestseller on Amazon now for over 5 straight years, but now you can get it even cheaper than you can get it on Amazon. So I can't tell you the exact price because it may change when this video is released, but there should be a link to it below, either in the description of the video or as well as a pinned comment. So if you're interested in that, check out that video and you can get a copy for super cheap.